Hello again, Edwina here, and I want to welcome you to this interview in the series that is all about inspiring and empowering a league of extraordinary mothers, where together we are on a quest to add a little extra to the ordinary by unlocking your passion, compassion, humour and style. Today's guest, Jennifer Ludington, is an extraordinary high performance coach to those that are looking at weight loss, fitness and all-round well-being. I have the absolute honour of calling Jen one of my dear, dear friends. She is an extraordinary example of what living the lifestyle she teaches looks like. And I don't doubt for 1 minute that you are going to gain a whole lot of magical nuggets from this interview. Welcome, Jen, and thank you so much for being with us. We have been trying for so long to get this interview happening, and as busy women, it's taken us a while, but persistence counts, yeah? And thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, you're so welcome. And thank you. I'm honored to be here. You know, I adore you. And so thank you for honoring me with this invitation.
Oh my goodness, my pleasure. So Jen, some of my audience is going to know you because I was on one of your shows a while ago, but for those that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, I'd love you to give us a little background. Obviously, exercise is a big piece of who you are, but how did you come to be doing the work that you do now?
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's quite a tumultuous story. And so I will share a bit of it. I don't want to go down that road too deep, but you know, I am a high performance health coach, right? I've been doing this for goodness, Edwina, it's almost 15 years now. So it's really interesting because I always say, you know, I didn't go looking for fitness and health. It came looking for me, right? It wasn't something that I had set out to do in my career. I was actually going to law school. And, you know, honestly, I chose a different path because, to be quite frank, I was in the middle of 9/11 and I ended up quitting school. And when I did so, I found myself really vulnerable, right? And I met a man who didn't treat me great.
Yeah.
And I got married. And when I got married, I found myself, and I know there's a lot of women that can relate to this, I found myself almost suffocating. I felt like I couldn't use my voice, right? I felt like I had a wet towel on me, right? And it became more and more abusive as we were married. And soon I found myself in a situation where I didn't really have many choices left, right? I was I felt like I didn't have choices. And fitness was something that empowered me.
Yeah.
When I found it, it actually set me free, right? It gave me this not only physical strength, but it gave me this mental and spiritual strength to really start standing up for myself, to start using my voice and finding my own power.
Yeah.
And when I did that, I finally had the courage and the strength to leave that relationship with baby on my hip, right? My daughter was less than 6 months old. And I found myself in a situation with no college degree, with no job, and no home, and nowhere to go. And so I started my own fitness business, and I started my own gym. And from there, it bloomed. And I found that my gift was not so much in fitness, right? That wasn't really like my thing, but it was the mechanism that allowed me to get the end result for other people like I got. And I saw other women blossoming and using their voice and becoming empowered and making shifts in their life. And that's when I knew it was for me.
Yeah. Jen, I want to, not just gloss over the fact that you had left this relationship with a little baby and then you just started a gym. I mean, that's enormous. That's enormous. And there is a core strength there that is incredibly inspiring. It's incredibly inspiring.
Thank
So
you.
where did that strength come from?
It's her, right?
Yeah.
Right. I know that moms out there that are listening understand this more than anyone else on the planet. And that when you know that when it's you, it's like, okay, I can deal. I can do whatever I need to do.
Yeah.
But when your little being
Yeah.
is dependent on your ability to make choices,
Yeah.
then you have to level up your capacity. There's no choice.
Yeah.
So in that moment, I remember there was a time, and I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. My daughter was, I think she was about 2 at the time, and it looked real good from the outside. We're really good at that as women, right?
Oh yeah.
Looked real good. Body looked good. Fitness was on point.
Yeah.
Gym looked like it was running real well, right? But I was living in my friend's basement. I did not have a home. My daughter and I were sleeping in my gym most nights so that I could be up at 4 a.m. to train my clients. And I remember, Edwina, going to the local grocery store. It was really early in the morning with my daughter on my hip. We were walking through. It was really cold in Idaho. And I was rolling the change around in my hand that I had taken from the bottom baseboard of my floor, like in the car, right? And I remember walking up to the milk, big freezer, frozen section or whatever. And I remember looking at the milk, and I had 40 cents less than the milk cost. And I remember sitting on the floor in the middle of Winco, this grocery store, crying with my daughter on my lap, in the middle of the floor, in the middle of the floor. And in that moment, I knew that the choices that I made were going to be different. Yeah. And I was never going to let her go through that in her life again. And that's when everything shifted. And I really started to level up my capacity and my leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that story is incredibly powerful with everything that's going on right now. Where there is, I certainly have friends here in Australia that are suddenly, that have been working for years and are suddenly having to look for, Centrelink support, which is our, government support for unemployed people. And suddenly things have shifted. And I think in the US, it's far more dire for many people than it is even here in Australia. But there are going to be mums that are suddenly faced with this situation. And the more that we can have these conversations about having been there and found that strength to dig deep, I think as women, we get to really set the stage for possibility and hope. And so thank you for sharing that. It's not easy to share those stories. I know. Yeah.
I know you know.
Yeah, I do. So look, I mean, one of the things that I really want to look at with you is the mindset around exercise. Now, my audience knows that exercise is my Everest, I call it. So I've got this phenomenally fit, amazing husband who's in his mid-50s who doesn't exercise, he plays. So he gets in the water for probably a couple of hours every day. And we've just been told the beaches are closing here. And so he's going to be climbing the walls and probably pulling out his unicycle, which he hasn't used for a while, and a skateboard. But he plays and he is incredibly fit and healthy. Me, my story came from being very large-breasted very early, so teenage days, and having to run in front of my peers, and it was just, the whole thing was humiliating, and that was my experience of it. And I know that at that point I made a decision that when I grew up and got to be an adult, I'd never have to do sport again. And so I have struggled with exercise now, heading for 50. That story is there, and I play with different things, and I do some yoga and I enjoy it, and I walk. That's one thing, I don't have to bounce when I'm walking. So that's something that I do, but it is an ongoing issue, and I know that you are the queen at getting this sorted. So I know there's going to be other women that relate to this conversation. So can we look at the mindset around exercise, please?
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. I have a story to share also. So just a little backstory on me. I competed nationally on fitness stages for over 10 years, right? So at one point, fitness was really a punishment, right? It was to the point where it was extreme, right? And so I have two sides of this coin to share. So I want women to understand that I understand both sides, right? I didn't grow up super fit. I didn't grow up like, thinking that I had to be a size 0 and look like I have abs all the time. I didn't grow up that way. And when I developed this fitness business, there was a lot of pressure to look a certain way. And so it did become a form of punishment.
Yeah.
Where instead of it becoming enjoyable, there was a point in my career where it got really ugly, really fast, and really obsessive. And so part of my mission is to help women get from the point where they don't want to move at all to the extreme point and bring them back to their center. And when we look at ourselves and our ancestral kind of way of being, we're meant to be in constant movement. Yeah. We're meant to be in constant motion. And so when we look at it that way, we can think of, well, what ways that feel good to me that I can continue on a daily basis are the things that I should be doing. If they don't feel good to you and you can't do them every day, I tell women, don't do it. Just don't do it. Yeah. That's the sign. Yeah. That's that internal meter that says, if you don't enjoy it and you can't do it every day, or you don't want to do it every day, it's not for you. And there's something else, a different form of movement that will nourish you and actually help you get healthier than forcing yourself into this cultural driven way that we need to do these crazy workouts and be this certain look in order to be healthy. That's not true. And believe me when I tell you that I know it's not true, because Edwina, there was a point where I was so over-exercised. I was the least healthy I've ever been, right? But I looked like that fitness perfect image, right? Yet my thyroid was done. I hadn't had a cycle in years. My hair was falling out. Everything was going on wrong with me and nothing was right, but I looked healthy according to what our culture says. So I want to rewind that for women for a second. Okay. So when we're thinking about movement, we need to think about it being sustainable for life. We need to think about it being enjoyable to our own internal meter, right? And we need to think about it as a gift instead of a punishment. Because movement is a gift, right? We're gifted with these beautiful bodies that carry our spirit around for, the amount of time that we're blessed to be on this planet. And we need to nourish our bodies just like we do with our mindset work, with our spiritual work. And so nourishing your bodies is not punishing them and making yourself go run when you don't feel comfortable, like you were forced to do, right? Yeah. So the way that I help frame this for women is there's a trick here, Edwina, and this is the trick. So every day I move, but every day is not the same, right? Sometimes I wake up and I'm tired. I'm not going to force myself to go do a high intensity workout if I'm tired. Yeah. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go for a walk in nature, right? Yes. Or a relaxing stretching class, right? But if I'm feeling full of energy and vibrant and I'm ready to go, maybe I will do a little tougher workout. Maybe I will pick up my weights that day, right? But what my whole goal is to create consistency for movement in women's lives, but giving it a framework to where you give yourself grace to fill that bucket however you feel that day without force. So it's fluidity instead of force. And that's my whole mission with fitness is don't force it, let it be fluid, right?
Yeah. Finding the fun in it. I'm happy to have a little dance party in my house. That works for me. That works.
Yeah. And another thing I do want to, before we even move on, I want to just put this into women's minds right now. You guys, listen, movement's not just, you have to go for 30 minutes, set your timer and you're done, right? It doesn't have to be like this whole set time frame. You can say, okay, for 5 minutes, 5 times a day, I'm going to do some movement. And you can incorporate that into your day. Yeah. So if you know that you sit at a desk all day, maybe set your timer for every hour and get up and do a little stretch, do a couple squats, maybe do a little push-up, do some things that are good for your body to get you moving. But don't get stuck in this mindset of, if I didn't get an hour workout in, it doesn't count, because it's cumulative, right?
Yeah, I'm actually standing as we do this. I've got a standing desk now, but I used to, pile my sit my computer on top of a pile of books just so that I could get up and be moving, because, my days are spent behind a computer. But I could be standing here and I'll be on one leg and then I'll be on the other leg.
That's so smart. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it works. So let's move then into the relationship, because, between fitness and food and health, because this is something that I can talk about all day. But there has been a massive drive to convince people, intentionally or unintentionally, that your weight is dependent on how much you move, rather than what you put in your mouth. So we get to eat lolly snakes and McDonald's, but if we go and hop on the treadmill, that's going to fix everything. What would you say to that, Jen?
Oh, that's such a dangerous place to live.
Yeah.
Such a dangerous place to live.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart, honestly. Right. So I'm going to just tell you a quick story, and my husband won't mind me sharing this, but he falls there. Right. And so even sometimes exercise is detrimental to him, because he uses it as this mindset where it still hasn't shifted for him, where he thinks if he works out really hard, he can go have that burger and fries.
Yeah.
Right. So believe me, I've worked with athletes that are overweight and they're rowers, or athletes that are marathon runners and overweight. Right. And I was one of them early in my life before I had my daughter. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I was a marathon runner. Right. I ran marathons, and I ran about 4 marathons, and I was about 30 pounds heavier than I am now. And I trained for marathons.
Wow.
So because I wasn't educated in nutrition. Right. So I want to break this down for women, especially right now. And when you can detach exercise from your weight, you will set yourself free.
Yeah.
And you will love movement again. But when you attach your body size or your weight or what you look like to the level or amount of exercise you do, you will stay in the cycle of misery when it comes to movement.
Yeah.
So until you can detach yourself from that and know that movement is for joy, right, and nourishment for this beautiful body we have been given that carries around our spirit and soul, then we can be free of that. But there is no amount of exercise that can out-exercise or outrun or outrow or out-jog, right, whatever it is, a bad nutritional plan.
Yeah.
It's just not possible. So, and Edwina, you're so educated in this area. I mean, we don't have to talk about nutrition with you. You have, all kinds of knowledge here, but we know that this is a hormone game, right? And so this hormone imbalance and cycle that exercise can play, right? This overtraining and getting out of whack with our hormones really does set the stage for, a lot, sometimes a weight gain. Yeah. I hate to say it, ladies, but if you're overtraining and doing the wrong type of movement and punishing yourself, you can actually gain weight instead of lose weight. So detaching yourself from that cultural norm that we've been conditioned to believe is very important. Very, very, very important.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I've got a background in nutrition and food, but in functional nutrition. But what I do know is that there are a plethora of diets, and they all work. They do. We can be really healthy as vegetarians. We can be healthy as paleo. We can be healthy in, like different choices. There is a running theme that it's, like real food is what works, as opposed to something that comes out of a packet. I did, in one of my shows, I asked every speaker what their breakfast was, and it was hilarious. It was 23 speakers. Every single speaker said eggs. Every single speaker. It was amazing. By the time I got to the last interview, it was like, who's buying shares in an egg company? It's amazing. But what I do know is that, as I said, there's lots of different ways that we can achieve this vibrant health. So for those that are just looking for a little bit of inspiration, give us a picture, if you're happy to, of what a meal plan looks like in your day. What are you eating for breakfast?
Oh, thank you for asking me.
I like talking food. That's not hard.
Right. So I try to allow myself a lot of grace with what I eat. It's more for me. I really listen to my body. I've learned that. I work with people and I do a lot of biomarker work. So we really look at what your blood work is telling you that's best for your body. You know, how we're looking at the whole person. So for me, I know what works for me because I've been doing this for a long time. I actually need a lot of protein, right? I need a lot of protein in my diet. And so typically for me, I don't typically eat until around 10 a.m. And I stop eating at 5 p.m. So I keep my window rather short, and I do that for a number of reasons. I believe in the anti-aging properties of some type of timed eating windows. And I also feel better when I don't go to sleep with a really full stomach. And I also feel better when I work out or do movement in the mornings without food in my stomach. That's just my personal choice. Everyone's different. So at 10 a.m. there's usually a few choices that I give myself or I have in the house, eggs being one of them. And it's generally eggs and coconut oil, right? With some sauteed garlic and spinach. Really, that's something that I really love. And a lot of sea salt. Don't forget the sea salt. So that's something that I like. Sometimes I have some arugula or some other greens, but typically it's eggs, oil, good quality coconut oil and greens.
So why, I'm going to interrupt just for a minute. Why are you saying don't forget the salt? Because, you know, there are still those that go, salt's going to give me high blood pressure and I'll drop dead if I have salt. So why do you add salt?
Oh, I really, this is another cultural norm that I really wish people would eliminate. So salt, good quality salt has things from the earth that we're not getting anymore. So let's talk about this for a hot second. So our soils, you know, overturned, and all of these beautiful nutrients and minerals that are typically in our food are being depleted, right? And it's no fault of our own. It's part of this overpopulation that we have on the planet. But so what's happened is we're not getting those vital minerals and electrolytes and things that come from the ground. So a good quality sea salt that has the minerals in it that your body needs is going to replenish you. It's also going to keep you hydrated, because when you are hydrating yourself with water, if there's not electrolytes present, the water can't really hydrate and permeate the cell membrane. So the electrolytes and the sodium open up the cell membrane so you can actually feel hydrated and feel energized and good, right? So if you're that person that's drinking a lot of water and like, why am I still puffy and retaining water? Have a little sea salt. It'll change everything.
I actually have just like a grind of salt first thing in the morning, and then I mean you can see the size of my water glass is huge. But a little, so I have the pink Himalayan salt is the one that I love, and I just literally have that, and then I have, you know, a large glass of water, and it just helps that intracellular fluid balance.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
Celtic salt, pink Himalayan sea salt, great choices.
All right, so breakfast sounds gorgeous.
So I generally have that for breakfast, and believe me when I say I have 3 eggs. That's what I eat. I eat 3 eggs. Generally through the day, I'm not typically that hungry. I do snack on some things like Brazil nuts. I love them. They have great magnesium, and they're a great source of fat. So I will snack on that. Sometimes I will actually have a half an avocado with sea salt on it throughout the day. The fat helps me feel good. So normally lunch is not really a sit-down lunch because I do eat so early. So a big meal in the morning, snacking during the day on higher fat food, maybe some protein here and there, but generally it's that. And then in the evening is always the biggest part of my plate is cruciferous vegetables. So I'm big on broccoli, I'm big on kale, cauliflower, Brussels, and the way that I cook them, you guys, this is the best tip I'm gonna give you for you to get your kids to eat these. I put them in a big bowl. I put tons of garlic and lots of sea salt and lots of olive oil, and then I roast them, but then I put nutritional yeast on top of them. And it gives it cheesy flavor, and they think it's like Parmesan cheese. And usually I'll have a glorious piece of salmon or some other very beautiful piece of protein that's never feedlot food. We don't eat feedlot. We eat a lot of elk. We eat a lot of bison. We eat a lot of wild caught salmon. We're in Idaho, so we have a lot of wild game. But our family does not participate in feedlot meat. So that's what our family eats, and then I have a big piece of that. Sometimes we'll have some cauliflower rice. Sometimes we'll have some sweet potatoes, but that's a typical day for me.
Beautiful. Love it. I'm very similar. I tend to eat twice a day. I think that intermittent fasting is just so powerful. And as you know, perimenopausal, I've noticed that I just need less and less food. I really do. And so that's, you know, that twice a day, having a really good big breakfast is magic. I love it. I have mine with a black coffee as well, which is something that I just love in the morning. And yeah, and then, you know, plenty of veggies and greens at night. I love the idea of that with the nutritional yeast on top. That sounds really good. You need to do a quick vid for us on that, on how you do it.
I'd love to. We do it all
Yeah.
the time in the house. It's our favorite way to eat our veggies.
Yeah. Beautiful. Awesome. So I feel like we've touched on your journey to here. We've touched on the exercise and the food, which were the three things that I really love. I do wind up with the style piece, because this is something that I just love, and you always look so gorgeous, Jen. So I'm dying to ask you this question. But, you know, I think as women, particularly at the moment, I mean, we haven't even mentioned coronavirus. It's really the elephant in the room that we don't we don't need to ignore, but we do need to be having conversations around the things that give us a lift and keep that, you know, we talk about our high vibration, we talked about movement and food, that all contributes, having a little dance contributes, but also making sure that we continue to feel like when we look in the mirror, we're giving ourselves a little lift with that style piece that continues to give us the high vibe. So what is your style thing that you want to share with us that does that for you?
Thank you for asking, Edwina. I want to share a style piece, but I also want to share something that makes me feel really, something that I do now during this time that makes me feel very feminine and connected.
Good.
And I want to share two things. Is that okay?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so the first thing I want to share is my lipstick.
Yes.
So I whenever I need, like right now I'm wearing it. This is I love my purple lipstick, and it's this matte long wearing purple lipstick, and for some it's my Beyonce lipstick.
Oh yes.
And then I feel very empowered, and it's like I'm putting on my
Yes.
superhero Beyonce, like I'm gonna go. And so it's my shade, and it makes me feel feminine and empowered and confident, and I love it. And it's my go-to. I have literally like 5 tubes of this guy. So
Awesome.
this is my signature shade. I know you've got your signature shade too, Edwina.
Yes.
But what I really wanted to share with women that has helped me really during this time feel really feminine and connected and, you know, just really alive in that way is every morning my husband and I have been laying in bed together, right? Which is something that we don't get to do much any longer.
Yeah.
But we take 20 or 30 minutes in the morning and we stay in bed with our coffee and we read a passage from a book together.
Yeah.
And this passage from a book, we get to have this intimate moment and conversation about things that matter to us, that aren't involved with the kids or that aren't involved in the coronavirus or the pandemic or finances. And we get to connect in a way, and it makes me feel very feminine and connected and intimate. And for me, it's like it's almost like my little cape now. It's like I've got my little superhero lipstick, and I have this like just feminine cape of, okay, I feel connected to this person and my soulmate, and it just makes me feel really good about taking care of that part of my life and not just filling my bucket with kids and chores and the economy.
Yes, I think rituals are just magic. And I like to talk about rituals rather than habits, because rituals are the things that I do that, and I mentioned before my morning coffee, you know, like my husband actually makes it for me just about every morning, but we grind the beans and then it goes in a special little espresso and it's on the stove, and it's just this, you know, it's the aroma, it's sitting, and I tend to plant my feet on the grass, so I sit on a little deck out the back and just kind of earth myself. these rituals, like lying in bed with your husband, are, I think, the magic in our days, and particularly at the moment. Particularly. Yeah.
Yeah, powerful.
Yeah.
And
Very
I think that's part of like, I feel like those moments give you that glow, right?
Yeah.
That feminine energy and that glow and that nurturing that we really need right now. And we really need to give ourselves a lot of grace around and really start to nurture all areas of our life,
Yeah.
especially right now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I so agree. I think we're in this beautiful, I'm imagining that we're in this beautiful kind of cocooning time. You know, we're in this time where we just get to be so much slower and still and look at, you know, the things that are lighting us up. I am amazed by how many people I'm speaking to that are actually really happy. And it is and it is because we have this time to slow down and focus on the things that we want to be focusing on. But my invitation for people is to really look at what's working, look at what's making you happier, and decide how you're going to maintain that post lockdown, because we don't need to necessarily go back to this frantic busyness that we've been convinced is what, you know, is what we should be doing. Why not like take this beautiful cocooning time to decide how we want to emerge out the other side of this?
I agree.
Yeah.
I want, and for me personally, wearing that busyness as a badge of honor. I really love that, to just leave, like just
Yes.
send that on its way, Edwina, and allow this
Yes.
time, because I think that right now there's a lot of feminine energy.
Yeah.
Like I think this is a time to nurture and nest and
Yes.
create these beautiful connections with our family.
Yeah.
And that's a very feminine energy. And us women need to just give ourselves grace to be.
Yes.
And I think it's a
Yes.
really special time on the
Yeah.
planet. I know there's a lot of suffering going on, but I also think there's a lot of beautiful blessings.
There is lots of silver linings. So you've got a little gift that is going to be so perfect for our audience following this conversation. Would you take a minute to tell them what that is?
Yes, I would love to. So there's two things. So the first thing is I have a very nice video series on how to really shift your mindset around this connection between food and using exercise as punishment, and changing your mindset around movement, right? And our health. Right. I think that'll be very supportive right now. The other thing that I would love to invite your audience to is in my free Facebook group, as I spoke of earlier, I'm doing these movement workouts in my Facebook group for free every day live, and they're different every day based on how I feel. And so the audience can choose, you know, which ones they feel like doing, because I leave them up, so they're just there forever.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good way to tap into different things that might feel good to your body.
Yeah. Sounds perfect. It sounds perfect. So generous. Thank you so much, Jen. I have loved this conversation and I love you to bits. Thanks, honey.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I just realized that I managed to record that whole interview with a little bit of breakfast stuck between my bottom teeth. But I'm not going to re-record it. It is taken so long to find a time that Jen and I could coordinate to record this interview for you. And I'm all about raw and real. So that's as raw and real as it gets. I hope you took something from that interview. I don't doubt that you did. Jen has got such a big heart. She is an amazing woman and an inspiring coach. She truly has a driving passion to support women with their, you know, feeling strong in their bodies and getting that vitality back in their lives. And I can tell you, it is her superpower. She's amazing at it. And I don't hesitate to recommend that you make the most of the incredibly generous gifts that she has shared with you as being part of this interview. So, speaking of superpowers, I have had several requests to connect one-on-one to do a vision building session. As many of you will know, this is my superpower. As a vision building mentor and transformational coach, I know that right now, as we are cocooning in this space in our lives, It is an incredibly powerful time to be looking at what you want life to look like on the other side of this pandemic. There is no question that living proactively rather than reactively is going to get you the results that you dream of. And so, my invitation right now is to jump in. I'm opening a couple of spots after this interview goes live in my calendar to connect one-on-one. Let me provide a space for you where you get to get laser focused on the things that are going to set your cells to tingling with excited anticipation for the days, weeks, months, and year ahead. All right, that's my invitation. I hope you'll take me up on it, and I cannot wait to connect. All right, much love, and bye for now.